The polls are clear. Kamala Harris's honeymoon period is over. In half a dozen swing states, a razor-thin margin separates Trump and Harris. It's anyone's ballgame, but I'm going to stop right there. The Independent is a little biased, albeit they're British, so we'll cut them some slack because they ain't here in America. But take a look at this from the Post-Millennial. Kamala Harris in trouble in swing states per private polling. Quote, I just saw some new private polling today. That's very robust private polling. She's in a lot of trouble. Political analyst Mark Halperin made the claim on Wednesday saying that he has seen private polling numbers from Democrats saying, quote, the conversation I'm having with Trump people and Democrats with data are extremely bullish on Trump's chances in at least the last 48 hours. Extremely bullish. So aside from the fact that here we have Wisconsin, Harris is only up by 0.4. Considering the bias, how about this? Not even any bias. Margin of error. Margin of error is going to be 2 to 3 points. At this time last year, Biden was up 5.5 and Clinton was up 6.8. Mind you, Clinton actually lost the election in 2016. And then, of course, my favorite, the betting odds. Donald Trump. Holy crap, I can't believe this. The latest update, ladies and gentlemen, this is massive. We're looking at, what do we have here? 7.6? Is that the split right now? 7.6% in favor of Donald Trump in the betting odds. So if you like Donald Trump, you're probably really happy about this.
Dude, Polymarket had him up by like 11 points or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Is that a betting?
He's up Polymarket. He's up 11 points in Polymarket right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know that the Democrats are desperate when they bring Bill Clinton onto the campaign trail. I don't know if you saw this, but he's, an obviously sort of controversial figure in modern American history. He was historically popular. So if they're going to Bill, they're recruiting Bill to stump for Kamala. They are really trying to connect, I think, largely with white voters. But I think it is
maybe younger ladies.
Hour.
He's like, I'll do the call her day.
But like I said, I mean, Monica Lewinsky is a folk hero for some feminists. So in some ways, bringing Bill Clinton on is actually a gamble. That's why I say, they are going to throw everything they can because they are not confident in this election.
Well, isn't it so interesting that we never got a mainstream feminist analysis of the power imbalance that existed between the most powerful man in the country and his intern?
I think you did. I think there are a lot of people.
No, I'm saying in the mainstream. This is not something that the media would touch on, in spite of their left-wing biases and the fact that they believe in girl power and women and want to protect them from being assaulted.
Monica Lewinsky has become, she's done the round on podcasts. I mean, she is not the same person she was, or at least her reputation is not the same as it was before. I mean, she had a collaboration with Reformation, a clothing brand. She is a pop culture icon. And again, this is largely due to the Me Too movement and sex-positive feminism. But still, nonetheless, in the 9th hour, they're bringing Bill Clinton onto the campaign trail.
They brought Dick Cheney in, which I thought was shocking.
It's hilarious.
The warmongering war arm of the Republican Party now is serving the Democrats. And we'll talk about it later, but Tim Walz is getting with World of Warcraft gamers. It just feels massively, really, really desperate.
Well, part of what I thought was so hilarious about the Dick Cheney thing was, okay, so you had Democrats going on and on about gun violence for a week, and then Dick Cheney endorses Kamala and they celebrate. He shot a guy.
With birdshot, right?
He
on a
shot
hunting trip?
Yeah, and it's hold on.
And then they had that day of
flame him for it
victims
constantly.
of gun violence at the DNC, but they didn't mention Dick Cheney then.
They're like, we're going to talk about gun violence, and then we're going to be excited that we got endorsed by someone who shot a guy. And they were talking about that nonstop. The Democrats ripped on him forever over that, but now that he's useful to them, it's no longer a serious matter.
I was going to say, I just think it's a double insult to Liz Cheney because she endorsed first. The media gave her some attention. Her dad endorses, and they're like, wow, Dick Cheney is interested. That's amazing.
I see it as a Potemkin campaign. It's just a visage of a campaign. It's not. They didn't even have a primary. They just said, this is going to be it. Now be afraid of the guy over there and support this fake process. Please just shut your eyes and take the bitter pill and get it over with. Just have this nonsense. And it's just so not. If you're critically thinking, it's quite nonsensical.
Do you think that if they had allowed there to be an open convention and allowed Democrats to stump and basically have miniature campaigns leading up to the DNC, that voters would feel more engaged?
Big time.
That's what I think.
Can I ask you, we were talking about this with Elad yesterday, but do you think Kamala actually has a better chance of beating Trump than Biden did? Or do you think that Biden had a
way better chance? He was a well-known politician for 30 years. Obama's VP for 2 terms, really well liked by a lot of people, not by everybody, but way better.
You think
But
even
it's-
after
but
his
it's not
brain
just
was
that.
clearly cooked?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
nobody, all people knew was Trump is president, and media says Orange Man bad.
Yeah, it's a
And
vote against Trump. Sorry to interrupt.
No, now we're in the Biden saga with Captain Kamala Harris in second in command, and it's been a catastrophe. So there was this funny. We did a short earlier. Atlantic says for the first time, or no, for only the fifth time ever, we are endorsing a presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, and the image they use says the case for Kamala, and it shows the Resolute desk empty, and it's just like that's a heck of a symbolism right there. The case for nothing. An empty
Also,
White House.
does it for only the fifth time? You mean you've been doing this for 15 years? What are you saying? Like that's you
could really say, like, only the second time.
Only the last 5 election cycles. That's a really long time. That's not a new thing. That's not unprecedented.
Well, they may be saying like, the past 10 years, like the past 5 we didn't, and it's, they're saying over the past 100 years they've done it 5 times.
Okay, possibly, but I don't know. All of these publications started making political endorsements at around that time. That's when they're saying, well, this is unprecedented, so now we need to say something. Remember, Scientific America, I believe, even endorsed, was it Biden or Hillary when they made their first endorsement? But they said, like, we're going to finally start endorsing
Probably
candidates.
Biden.
And probably Biden, because I don't think anyone thought Trump was actually a threat in 2016. They did not think he was going to win.
They were giving him a less than 1% chance of winning.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Right now, the betting odds have Trump up 7.6.
Which is crazy.
Look, I say this all the time. Polls are political. Polls are biased, and polls, like, we can trust them in aggregate to a certain degree. But I trust the money more.
Yeah.
No one's trying to lose money on a bet.
Yeah, betting
Everybody,
odds.
right? And so now, if you're betting on Trump, you bet what? You bet $100, you're going to get -7. You're going to get -7. You're going to win $90-something. So I look at this and I say people are planning to win. They're not betting to lose. And that says a lot about where the people currently are in what they perceive in the media. And I say that means more than polls.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I think that a lot of the polls will artificially inflate the Democrats' number in order to demoralize Republicans. That said, even though I think Trump is further ahead than the polls are saying that he is right now, there's something I saw a leftist on Twitter say to their audience that I will say to everybody here in our audience. Polls don't vote, right? People do. So make sure you still get out there. Even if it is the case that Trump is 30 points ahead, according to the polls, which he's not right now. You still got to go out and vote. You still got to take this seriously. This is absolutely not guaranteed.
Right. And I think this year in particular, given that I think something like 3 million Americans are without internet connection because of the storms that have rolled through, polls are right now not as accurate as maybe they could be. And,
Fair.
I would assume the same thing is true for the betting market. Anything that you would be calculating data or maybe submitting your opinion online, there's a huge portion of people who probably support Trump, because I'm just going off the North Carolina red states that were so impacted, but who could support either candidate who are not able to be surveyed. It was in 2016, everyone's like, the polls were wrong, and except for I think Rasmussen was the only one who got it right. But this year, I think the polls actually do not have a chance of being accurate, not necessarily because of bias, but because they cannot get to Americans to survey.
Well, and this is actually part of what I am curious about. Firstly, your point about not having Americans to survey. There was a great Tomasawa line. Like the vast majority of Americans, I've never spoken to a pollster. But also, we saw earlier that the likelihood of a Hillary victory was calculated as higher than the likelihood of a Biden victory. So I wonder if they have done something to correct for the numbers since 2016.
I don't know.
And so I think that as people, as conservatives, as people who want Trump to win, we'll look at these polls and say, Trump might be a point behind here, 2 points behind, 3 points behind, but we know that they always artificially inflate the Democrats' numbers. It is possible that they have corrected for some of that. I'm a little skeptical because, again, I think they view putting the Democrat ahead in all of the polls as a demoralization tactic. That said, get out and vote regardless.
Yeah.
You got to get out and vote.
Especially because the down ticket race is really needed. I think sometimes people in areas that are like, well, it's definitely going to, I mean, you're from Alabama, so you maybe don't have this experience, but, you know, if you're from a blue area, you're expecting a blue governor, you know, you think, well, like Trump's never going to win my state, or, you know, a Republican will never win this office, so it doesn't matter. And I think especially in the down ticket races, some of them are decided by a few thousand votes. I mean, it really does matter if you turn out. You can't just write off your area because of it historically turns a certain color.
Yeah, well, that's true. Even if you're in a deep blue or deep red state, your vote counts for something. Even if you're not able to flip your state, if 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 more people vote for a Republican in a deep blue state than normally do, that tells the Republican Party something about the quality of candidate that they need to be selecting for.
Sure. Yeah, it definitely gives them something to go off of. I mean, what if you flip your state senator and that's one more vote in favor of legislation that matters to you on the state level? I know we worry a lot about what the federal government's going to do, and there's good reason for that. But more than likely, it's your state representatives that are going to be deciding the things that immediately impact you, including your state budget. So it matters who you send, and as much I get why all eyes are focused on the top of the ticket, but you know, I think you have to stay motivated.
I used to staunchly suggest if you don't know what you're voting for, don't vote. But do you think it's better for someone to vote for the same person that someone they respect is voting for if they don't know anything about it than to not vote at all?
That's a really good question. I mean, I've sort of taken a similar line to you in the past, and I even made a video about this for the Foundation for Economic Education, where we were basically saying, if you need a celebrity to tell you to vote, you shouldn't. Like, don't go vote if that's the reason that you're voting. I do think it makes sense. For example, like, let's say you have a married couple, the wife doesn't pay that much attention to politics. The husband says, hey, we should vote for this guy. He's way better. They both vote for him, right? That's one thing. I think that's wise, and that's how it should be if that's the case. But if it's like, the person you respect is not someone who's actually involved in your life, and you respect them because of something that's completely unrelated to their political knowledge or your well-being, then I would say you shouldn't vote based on what they say.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.